It's not about power,
100%.
guys.
Yeah, no, it's
Nothing
never
is
about
about
power.
power.
I was hoping he would just die because I thought it was funny.
Sorry, the dog is under. Oh my gosh.
Hey everyone, welcome to Novels and Nightcaps, where we read, we drink, we ramble. My name is Noor.
And I'm Gabe.
And this week we'll be reading The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Specifically, we'll be reading part 1, Worst Princess Ever.
Now, before we get started and go through our drinks and stuff, Noor, what is this podcast actually about?
Right. So this is a podcast / book club where all we're really doing is just hanging out, sharing a drink, talking about the books we're reading. Every week we'll discuss one part of a book. Right now we're reading The Devils, of course. In a couple weeks we might read another book. The idea is for you guys to tag along, buy a book, bring your drink, and yeah, we're just going to talk. We're going to have a good time. Speaking of drinks, though, Gabe, what are you drinking?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I am drinking what's called the Cali Mocho. It's right here.
Oh, yeah.
I put it in my massive beer goblet. Now, it is red wine and Coca-Cola. That is it. The two ingredients,
Let's
50-50. I used this really cheap box wine that I was able to pick up from.
Is that cardboard?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it is. It's like a milk carton filled with wine. Listen,
Wow.
I'm moving right now, and all of my other stuff is packed away. So I needed something super easy, and I figured it'd be best to set the bar as low as possible, so that from here on out, it's actually something exciting. I was gonna even get a lemon wedge for garnish, but that didn't really work out. For people who are only listening, it is red Coke, basically. That's kind of what it looks like. It's Coke that is very slightly red, but I did go above and beyond and add circle ice, so it's slightly more fancy. I have spherical ice that you will hear me probably chew at least once. I'll try and cut it all out if I can. Sorry. And Noor, what are you drinking?
Well, I can't compete with that. No, actually,
You can.
went the opposite way.
Actually, I can.
Yeah, I can. I actually went all out. I splurged. This was my excuse to try a drink I've been wanting to try out for a while. I made myself a mezcal Negroni. This is mezcal, Campari, I believe, and sweet vermouth. So
That's great. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. So we didn't discuss this beforehand. We didn't know what we were making, specifically because we want our drinks here on Novels and Nightcaps to reflect what we thought about the chapters, what we thought about the part. So for me, for example, this year, I made this partly because I'm moving and I wanted something cheap, but also it made sense because I was really looking for something to reflect how, especially in these chapters, without going into spoilers yet, you have a lot of characters who are masking themselves. There's so many fake personalities and just fake selves that they're putting on for show. And so multiple of our prospective characters are really horrible people that are trying to portray themselves as somebody better than they actually are. And so I was masking the horrible red wine with some delicious sugary Coca-Cola. That was at least my thought process with it. But I was going to make a Negroni, so I'm really glad that I decided not to, because that's exactly what I was going to do.
Oh, yeah, we almost made the same drink.
That would have been really
bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
It's gonna happen sooner or later. So, Noor, why did you make your drink? Why did you choose that?
The mezcal Negroni. Well, part of it is I wanted to try it out. I've been meaning to try it out for a while now. Secondly, also kind of similarly to your take, the characters, they have a lot of layers to them. They try to present themselves as, some of them higher than life. Some of them have grandiose takes on themselves. Others just think they are at the bottom of the barrel, and they actually are at the bottom of the barrel.
They actually totally are at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, they totally are. So mezcal Negroni, it's sort of like this rebellious take on the Negroni. It's a bit bitter. It's a bit sweet. it's a bit of both. We're human beings. We're all messy.
Mhm.
And I have a feeling that our characters, based on the first part alone, we can already tell just how messy they are. And then
Yeah.
some.
And so, do you like it? I think that's probably a question we should answer. Is it good?
Let's try it out.
The nice gulp. That was a good ASMR moment. I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Mine is exactly as trashy as I thought it would be. It tastes like red wine and Coke. It's exactly what it's a. So it's a Spanish cocktail, and that's all I really know about it. But I know that it's pretty good, and I would approve.
Yeah.
Never again,
No,
though. Probably will never make this again.
I eyeballed the ratio, so
Oh, that's solid. Did you get a jigger, or do you not have a jigger?
I do not know. I used
Okay.
my mom's cupcake making equipment. So
That's really good. I like that. I approve of that. I think
I had
for
to
everybody
translate.
out there, use what you have. Oh, that's so good.
We're starting small.
Mhm, mhm. And I mean, like, I ordered a bunch of. This is totally a tangent. I ordered a bunch of stuff on Amazon, so hopefully next time I can have a more competent drink, something that's a bit more, just a little bit more interesting and complicated. Perhaps like a Negroni.
Oh,
But I'm glad that you were able to figure that out. I'm glad you were able to using the cupcake measuring
well,
tool.
it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so
Oh, it's
hopefully
easy enough. Yeah.
it's easy. It's easy, simple. But yeah, no, this podcast will also double down as an excuse to, just finally have a home bar.
Exactly. I was thinking about that too. I am currently working at a barista. I'm working as a barista at like a coffee shop / bar. And so a lot of this has been me asking bartenders what to make, how to make it, if it's cost effective. And so this is really an excuse to try and learn some new skills that I think neither of us have, but they look really cool when people do have them. So I think it makes sense. But anyways,
Yeah.
next, we have to probably cover a general synopsis about what this book is. So, non-spoiler territory for everybody listening out there. This is not going to be spoilers. This part in particular is just covering what the book is. So you're welcome to listen to this part if you haven't read it. But after we cover this, go buy the book, read the first part, listen like this is a podcast that's a book club. Treat it like a book club. That's what we're hoping.
Exactly.
Of course, if you don't
And
care,
hey,
you're welcome to stick along. Yeah, you're welcome to stay
make
with
yourself
us.
some drink.
Make yourself some drink. Important thing. Make yourself some drink.
Yeah. Some drink.
You're welcome to make a Calimocho like I do have here. It's real cheap. So.
For legal purposes, only make yourself a drink if you are over the legal drinking age.
That's a solid reminder there.
Otherwise,
solid reminder.
just get
maybe just a Coke. Yeah, just a glass of milk. Your nightcap is just a warm cup of milk. That's
yeah.
Okay, so what this book is about. Yes. Nor what is this book about? What is the kind of general synopsis? What are some of the characters we're following and where we meet them at the beginning? Where are they at?
All right. So as someone who has only read 97 pages so far, I can confidently tell you so far, this is Suicide Squad in like historical Europe, but like Catholic, like a Catholic Suicide Squad. Like
Catholic
if the Pope had the Suicide Squad made up of monsters, that's what this book is.
Who knows?
Essentially,
that still
we
might
have,
be the case.
Yeah. Essentially, right now we have a monk of the like Catholic Church. Well, this world's Catholic Church, and he has been called upon by the Pope to lead a team of monsters and necromancers and werewolves and elves.
There's an elf, yeah.
Yeah, there is an elf. He has to lead them on this holy quest for totally moral reasons.
Totally moral, 100% moral. It's not about power,
100%.
guys.
Yeah, no, it's
Nothing
never
is about power.
it's for the greater good, of course. And sometimes
Yeah.
the greater good requires, well, the devils by your side.
The devils, exactly. That I think that's a great synopsis. We don't want to go into too much detail. If it doesn't sound like it's up your alley yet, it's super cinematic, lots of action, very fun time. I am having I think that we both would say we're having a very enjoyable time so far, right?
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
It's so much fun.
And Joe Abercrombie, Nor, you haven't read any of Joe Abercrombie, right? This is your first book by him?
No, this is my first entry into the Abercrombie world.
Okay, so I've read a bit of him. So I guess we'll be able to provide a little bit of a different perspective, especially on like his prose, his storytelling, his characters, things like that. But I think it's going to be great. So if you have not read the first part yet, now leave. Go buy the book, read it.
Buy the book.
Or stay. Or stay if you want. We're not going to force you to do anything.
No, I will. Go get the book.
We're kicking you off. To really get started, let's cover what happened. Like in classic book club fashion, for those of us who didn't read closely, we have to give a very general overview of what we read.
You know who you are
already.
So, the story begins on the 15th of Loyalty. And Brother Diaz, that's our main character, by the way, he is late for his meeting with the Pope. There's this like parade going around town. This is the holy city we're talking about.
Rome.
It's a big day.
Basically Rome, yeah.
Exactly. It's just Rome. And he's just having a horrible time trying to get to town. He's actually, the first phrase, the first sentence he utters, the first sentence our holy man protagonist utters is, "God damn it."
It immediately sets a very, very interesting tone where I think anybody reading kind of, especially if they're well read, knows exactly the type of character we're dealing with, where it's very obviously Brother Diaz is somebody who I think, at least from the first part, we're able to read kind of has like not a bad heart. Like he's not a bad guy, but he definitely is not your traditional moral, upstanding priest. He is by no means what I imagine the Catholic Church would hope for in a godly man. Yet still we're stuck with him, which is incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, he's a bit of a, what's the word? An interesting choice for a monk. Let's just say that. Saying "God damn it" 3 times in the first page alone, just out of sheer frustration at the traffic, is kind of funny.
It's very relatable.
Mm-hmm. So he makes his way to the Pope, to the, I don't know if they actually have a name for it. I think it's just the Holy Palace.
The Holy Palace, yeah. The palace of some kind. Yeah.
And Brother Diaz, he thinks he's getting a promotion, finally. Something he can rub in the faces of all his enemies and rivals and competitors. Something to finally brag about. Only to find out that he's getting himself into a bit of a pickle, into a bit of a mission out of his pay range. You know, he's enlisted by Cardinal Zaska?
Yeah, Ziska. Since we're reading this and it came out not too long ago, we have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce these. So bear with us if you actually know for some reason. But yeah, like Ziska, I don't know. It felt very like Eastern, you know? Ziska.
Yeah, Cardinal Ziska is her name. And interestingly enough, we learned that the church seems to be predominantly led by women. So already we have sort of a bit of a branch off from our universe.
Yeah, woman Jesus.
Woman Jesus.
Woman Jesus, but male God. I thought that was very fascinating. They use like masculine pronouns for God, but obviously they call the Savior like a she. They use feminine pronouns for. So I thought that was fascinating.
Very interesting. Yeah. God is still a man, I guess, in this.
Or at least they use like they
They
call
use the
him
male
he.
pronouns. Yeah,
Yeah,
he. Um, the Pope is a woman as well, which, as we'll find out soon
a
enough,
child. I don't know if you can call her a woman. She's a
it's
child,
a child. It's a child.
child pope. Yeah,
And so a controversial take, as commented by one of the other characters, the necromancer. But anyway, we're kind of going out of order here. Yeah, so Cardinal Zizka starts talking about right and wrong and how sometimes, in order to do the right thing, you have to go about it with some less than right means. Sometimes holy work requires unholy methods. That's the whole spiel of her little argument. And Brother
yeah.
Diaz, the whole time, he's just like trying to wonder what he's getting himself into.
Did you get the vibe in that moment? Because whenever I was reading that, I very much felt like, oh, is this the person actually pulling the strings? Like, is the Pope not really the one in charge? And that felt confirmed as we read, the rest of part one.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
that's where it kind of like, oh, I think this person is actually the person who's, and that was before we knew that the Pope was a child. But I still felt like this was the real person in charge, and I think that is kind of confirmed. But I don't know.
No, for sure. The whole time I was reading that chapter, I got the sense that she had this commanding presence. And obviously, she gave me, again, not to compare too much to the Suicide Squad, but I kept thinking of like Amanda Waller, like pulling all the strings
Yeah.
behind the government, under
She
the guise
seemed
of the
like
government.
more of a good guy than Amanda Waller, though. Like Amanda Waller
Yes.
seems, she is like the antagonist, basically.
She's
And so,
very clearly like
different.
immoral.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cardinal Ziska, at least in her little monologue, she talks about how it is the right thing, how they are at war with the elves and other segments of the church that have sort of broken off.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Which,
the Great Schism, which is I
yeah,
love that. So I study history. History is my thing. That's a little bit of lore for this podcast, but that part immediately was like, oh, I recognize that. So in that moment, I immediately knew that the other city that is going to be important in this is essentially Constantinople, but of course, in this case, is called Troy. But in that moment, I knew what we were dealing with. This is a power struggle between the East and the West. Very classic thing, and it is great. Now, obviously, we haven't gotten to all the way to like Troy yet, so we don't know actually what that's like. We just got outside of the Holy City, so I'm excited to see what happens there. But this is a very familiar thing, and this is something that did happen, like this great schism between the Holy Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. So,
yeah. So for those of us who are not history majors, roughly what time period are we in right now?
so like it for me, it gave like 1000 sort of deal. So like I just looked it up because I don't know it off the top of my head. So I want to be transparent. I'm not just being like, no, 1054 is the Great Schism. So that is roughly around the time period, which matches with what we're seeing, like technology wise. It's still
Exactly,
very,
yeah.
Middle Ages. But yeah, that's when the Great Schism happened. Now it's a lot of dramatic, scenes. It's honestly very cinematic. And so we're seeing something slightly different here. It's not just the churches battling it out, at least that we know of. They allude to it
Exactly,
by
yeah.
just calling it, like theological nonsense. And it's not really relevant because we're more dealing with swords and, witchcraft. So that's more interesting and more relevant, which I totally get. But yeah, anyways, so 1054, that's roughly the time period that we're in.
Perfect. Right. So that is an introduction to one of the main characters. There is right off the bat a second POV that we're introduced to, and this is Alex or
Mhm.
Alexandria, right? She's this plucky rogue type character, a thief, a cunning swindler that's sort of always on the run, always pulling the strings, always grifting people, cheating power brokers here and there. So we first meet her quite literally as she hits the
About to
curb, I
like,
think.
you're about to die. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. At her lowest, she's being pursued for whatever reason. She's being chased by these thugs. She owes a lot of money. She tries to scam them really poorly. And it's
it is
only
so good how like awful. Like she's not competent. I mean, did you see that's her photo in the book? I'll show it to the audience. This photo right here, that's her. And
yeah.
there's nothing more like less inspiring. Whenever I first saw her, I'm like, who is that? That's not, because it didn't seem to match. But the more I read about Alex, the more
Uh,
I kind of confirmed how how over her head she was with this entire situation, and she feels that way. And I have a prediction. I have a hot take. I don't know if it actually is gonna come true. I don't know if we want to keep with this and then swing back. But
no. Please, I need to know
okay,
now.
so to continue on with what we're talking about here, Alex, of course, is then saved by what's his name? Do you have his name on hand? The
Yes,
Duke.
it is Duke Michael.
Duke Michael. So she's saved by Duke Michael, who at first I thought was like one of the devils. I don't know. I was confused. But then it becomes quite apparent that Alex, is in line for the throne of Troy, and there is a war of succession going on currently between the sons of her aunt. Correct? It's her aunt.
Yeah,
Yeah, because her aunt killed her mom.
Eudoxia.
Yeah, Eudoxia killed her mom, took over the throne, and Alex had never known about this. So it seems like a dream come true, but also not, because everybody wants to kill her because she is the only one standing in the way for the other brothers who are trying to get the throne of Troy. My prediction here is, and this could be totally wrong because we haven't read any. We stopped at part 1. I've not picked it up since I got to part 2.
Good.
I
Me
think
neither.
that
Me neither.
she keeps talking about how she's going to keep this con going, and I think it'd be fascinating if it actually is a con. Like she really isn't the one they're looking for. The only thing that I don't know how that would work is she has a birthmark that they keep
Exactly.
referencing.
Yeah.
Because initially my thought was like, oh, what if she's not actually this person that they're saying she is? What if she had like a coin or a necklace, right? She had a
Yeah.
half
The
of
necklace with half a necklace. Yeah. Yeah.
half a
Like a
necklace.
necklace with half a part.
Yeah, and so I
Yeah.
initially thought, maybe she stole that from somebody else, um, because that would fit her character, and she just kind of is leaning into this because this is how she's going to stay alive. And eventually, I think there's obviously going to be a twist with her. We know something's coming. My current
for sure.
prediction, which is probably wrong, I think that she actually is not Alex. I think she is not the heir to the throne. I think that there's something messed up here. Whether it is with the Duke, I think the Duke could betray her. Could be the one that like was the traitor. That, well, as we'll talk about in a second. I think the Duke might be that guy, but it screwed it up because I thought he was going to go along with them, and then he went back to the Holy Palace. So that's that. So my initial suspicions keep getting thwarted, but I'm onto something here. I'm onto something. I don't know what it is yet. That's my prediction. I don't know if that's true, but
Well, I hope you are, because that's sort of along the lines of what I was thinking too. Like,
okay.
it all feels too good to be true. She even like points to it so many times. She's like, the uncle who might not actually be my uncle. This is too
Yeah.
good to be true. It's like a dream. And she is a swindler. She's a cheater. She's a con man. She's a con artist.
Mhm.
And there's even a quote somewhere in the book where she's described as an onion made only of skins with nothing at the center.
Yeah, that was very
And
Shrek.
so
I loved it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so I'm thinking, like, what if she has like spent her whole life lying, telling all these lies? She doesn't even know it's real anymore. She might not even realize that she really isn't the princess, because she makes no comment about the necklace, like in
Mhm.
her inside
In her
like what's the word?
internal monologue.
Her internal monologue, exactly, yeah. she doesn't bring attention to the fact that that is not her necklace. Like it very much is her necklace, at least as she
Mhm.
perceives. I'm wondering if they try to pull like an inception on us and she doesn't even realize that no, that isn't her necklace. Maybe she made
That
an
would be
identity
cool.
for herself. We'll see. Um, I've also just come off fresh from Stormlight, and one of the protagonists just constantly lies to herself.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of her in Alex, but we'll see.
Yeah. What do
We'll
you?
see.
Okay. So I know we're doing this like, as we're entering the talking about each viewpoint, we're totally smashing together our structure and what we were gonna do. But I think it's gonna be
Oh
fun.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
So, Alex, what did you think of Alex as a character? Did you find her interesting? Was she not your favorite? What was your? I'm sorry, my dog's in the background. By the way,
I know.
little banjo banjo cameo. Anyways, go ahead. What do you think of Alex?
Yeah, yeah. So my first impression of Alex is I love her. She's funny. The whole like being chased by goons and telling people at the parade like "fuck you" get out of the way. Really fun. Then she kind of falls into the backdrop for like a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of disappointing. But at the end, in the last chapter, I think kind of brought her back to the forefront in a way that I think I find very compelling. The whole idea of again, we're kind of like smashing through our little outline
That's
here.
okay. We have so much to talk about. This is fine.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. But there's a line at the very end of part one, after the whole mess with the monsters and the the half animal, half human creatures, and she says, or the paragraph is, every time she was the cunning loner, the selfish user, the ruthless swindler, till anyone did the smallest thing for her. Then she'd have to be their hero and end up shitting all over herself. So this is the part where she kind of doubles down and it's like, no, I'm gonna go through this. And it's just it's a character quality that I just enjoy. It's one of my personal favorites. So right now, I am a big Alex fan. I hope she doesn't keep falling into the backdrop though. The other characters are just all the characters feel really interesting to me right now. That
Yeah.
I hope the princess kind of has her spotlight, which I'm sure she will. Again, she is kind of the plot point right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think of
I
her?
think this I liked her. I kind of had a similar take as you actually, where I very much felt her drop off was disappointing, but then it made her character feel kind of flat because she was not in the foreground. When
Right.
you're in her thoughts and whenever she's thinking about how to swindle, how to steal, or is about to die, that's when she's most fascinating because you can see all of her flaws. Um, and and so one thing I like about Joe Abercrombie is all of his characters are somehow really enjoyable to read, yet all awful people. And that's, I think, whenever she's being awful, is whenever she's best. I don't know if that makes
Oh
sense.
yeah.
Whenever,
No, I get
so
it. I
I
get
think
it.
at the end of part one, when she finally said, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I just hope that doesn't mean now all of a sudden she is that princess that she was hoping for. Which I don't think it means that, but I hope she
Exactly. Yeah.
still has that rough edge that makes her unique as a character and makes her also not worthy of the position in the best sort of way.
exactly. Yeah. This is way too early for her to have that like character development.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more along the lines of like a call to adventure. At least that's my hope, because
Yeah, that's my hope.
We have a lot of book left, and I hope she's still kind of a loser all throughout. I mean,
Yeah,
she's the worst princess. I hope she lives up to that title.
yeah.
It's a fun take. Um, let's
I
see.
will say I think it does kind of naturally lead into my biggest criticism so far is the cast feels very big, and I'm not sure we'll get all of the time to spotlight everybody that I think should be um what is her name? Baptiste. I don't have any thoughts on at all, and it feels like she's a major player. there's a few fun little tidbits here and there about her being a pirate, and like that's sick. And she's, she has that kind of fun edge, yet she's not complex or interesting yet. That's also why immediately I thought, oh, she also might be the one who's the traitor, because she's not important to us.
Right.
And Sunny, on the other hand, I really liked, but I really want to see what Sunny thinks, the elf. Like, what is going on in the elf's brain throughout all of this? But also, like, I feel like Sunny should have a lot of spotlight. Sunny feels like a really interesting, important character. So there's just so many characters. And this team, especially for a book, while it might work in a movie because everybody can have their like one thing, at least how he's portraying it here, these characters are a lot more complex and interesting and are all very bad in their own way. And if only some of them get a chance to explore that complexity, it's going to feel weird. If only some of the squad, some of the devils have that perspective. That's going to feel weird. So I'm hoping we get all of the perspectives for all of the devils. That's my hope. But then again, I think you're going to lose some of the plot lines if you do, some of the character arcs rather, if you're constantly switching between, like, I mean, how many devils are there? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7, 8. At least 8.
Yeah. See, that's a lot. So
yeah, it's a big cast.
That's my biggest criticism so far for me, is I'm worried it's just too many people for one team.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that, I think, also my biggest criticism is the reason why Alex felt like she fell, like in the backdrop, is because we switched POVs. We were starting to get like these other more interesting POVs, and she kind of fell back. And we get to see a little bit of that with Brother Diaz, especially during the attack. He's not doing much. I mean, he can't, right?
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
But
I thought he was going to do something. He was just praying pathetically.
All he does is pray. So, like, strong start, because we're introduced to them. We get to see the world through their point of view, which Abercrombie so far has done very, very interestingly and entertainingly. But then as you introduce more characters like Balthazar and Vigga Wolf, it's just, they're also really interesting. And they're more supernatural, more exciting, and they have more autonomy. They
have more to do.
Ironically, because they're kind of bound to complete this task. Which, I'm sorry, we need to talk about the scene where we're finally introduced to the Pope. I think that was like
so good.
That was such a good scene.
It was really good.
Oh, so again,
the Pope, especially, it was from Balthazar's perspective, which was really fun. And I honestly didn't love Balthazar until he used his poop to like draw out his arcane. That's when I started to like him. I was like, oh, that's really funny how like comically ridiculous this guy is. But at the beginning, when he's just viewing everybody, and didn't they give him like a loincloth, or did they give him pants? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a loincloth.
Yeah. So he was not immodest in her holiness's presence. But him viewing that whole charade and being like, this child is stupid, this is so dumb, it's just a little smear on his wrist, right? Like, that's ridiculous.
The binding. It's just
binding.
A little smear, and the Pope is just such a like cheerful little girl that gets really easily distracted.
Yeah,
and she seems like way too into these monsters for a Pope. Yeah, but then again, she is a child, so it's just, the whole chapter is absurd. And honestly, I think Balthazar is one of my favorite characters so far, because like, I'm just a sucker for someone who thinks so highly of themselves, but they're placed in positions where like they just they suck. It's like we get to see who they really are in the eyes of everybody else. It's like, you're not this grand wizard or sorcerer. No, he calls himself a magician, right?
A magician. That's like his quip, his tagline that he says.
Magician. Which, so far has involved like smearing poop
That was so funny. That was so good.
with his
That
fingernails.
no, I had to.
Oh
So
wow.
my wife literally asked what I was laughing out loud about. And I'm like, I don't know if I can explain this in any sort of coherent way. I think you would just have to read it. And yeah, that entire scene was ridiculous. That's
Oh,
where and you could just feel like the pressure and tension mounting during that entire carriage scene off. Like it was really good. That I
it's a
think
good chapter. It's a good chapter.
that's where it really started to hit for me. I've enjoyed the entire thing we've read so far, but whenever they got to the carriage and they were riding, they started riding Detroit. They started their mission, and I think that's where it really. I mean, obviously, it's where it kicked off, but that's where I really started to understand, like, oh, okay, this is going to be cool. Like Jacob of Thorn is probably my favorite character so far. He's not super funny,
Yeah.
but he just
No, he's very
feels
stoic,
he
very,
feels
but
very
also
stoic.
kind of
And
grumpy and jaded.
mhm. I think it plays off really well against all of the other characters who are the complete opposite. And I think it's really funny to me because he's so stoic and jaded in the face of, like, it feels like he's plopped out of a different book and put in here,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
it works. The dynamic works.
It's very interesting because when getting this book and
But
reading the like little blurb, I kept thinking
yeah,
that Brother Diaz was going to be sort of this figure, this like stoic, more righteous man. No, he's not. Jacob of Thorn, however, kind of fills that void, that very much needed void. Someone to keep everybody kind of under control, focused on the task. I
yeah.
particularly like the scene where he kept talking about his oats and like standing up, and so long as he has his oats, and then he just falls flat on the ground.
Did
and
you
I,
immediately, like? Did you know off the bat that, like, oh, he's not going to die. Like, this is his thing. Is he can die a bunch of times? Like, is that the
exactly, yeah, because they do
yeah?
reference that when he's first introduced as Jacob of Thorn, because everybody
Mhm.
keeps quipping like, "Oh, isn't there like a Jacob of Thorn that did this and this? Isn't there a
Oh,
Jacob
I
of
did.
Thorn
Okay,
that did
that's
this long ago?" And he's like,
I'm so
"There's a lot of
stupid.
Jacobs in Thorn."
I'm
Did
so
you not see
stupid.
that?
No, I didn't know. I read it. I was like, I don't care about all these Jacobs. I guess he's like self conscious about all these. It's so stupid. I totally interpreted that as this guy was like, kind of self conscious about how he's not the most famous Jacob in Thorn. No, it's just that's so funny. Dang. All right. Well, that's dumb. Yeah,
I
yeah,
will
Jacob.
say, I will say that as I was reading the scene of like the what's the word, the raid, the assault.
Yeah,
Um, I was hoping he would just die because I thought it was funny. Because like
yeah.
I thought they were trying to go the route of like the self-righteous sort of like, or not self-righteous, just the righteous character is the one that just like dies,
Yeah,
kind of like a Rick Flag situation in the Suicide Squad,
yeah.
which might happen, but then again, probably not because he is the one that is cursed by a witch to not die. I think that's his curse,
Mhm.
right? He's like immortal
I,
essentially.
I believe so. It feels very like Wolverine, basically, except Wolverine if Wolverine just died multiple times. Um, but yeah, I really love Jacob. I thought Brother Diaz would be more of the protagonist, and I was very shocked to see how little part he had to play in this. And I'm sure it'll only grow over time. Like there's a reason he's in charge.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But at least in this time, for the first part of the book, he really has not been the protagonist like I thought he would be, which is very fascinating. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I mean, Alex is the protagonist, I would think, but they kind of all are. So I've been trying to place who the root character
With a
is.
real, yeah,
I guess it
yeah.
has to be Alex. I was
I
very
do, I
disappointed
do,
that we didn't get more from Baron Rickard, though, the vampire.
yeah. So
I wanted a lot more of him.
I was gonna mention that when you were saying like how you hope that every character gets their spotlight and how this might be the issue with the book. I'm wondering if maybe we're not introduced to those POVs yet because they are the most reserved characters so far. Like Sunny,
Yeah.
the Baron,
Mhm.
they're kind of just along for the ride. They seem the most indifferent. Everybody else seems like either really into it or really not into it. But the
That's
Baron
fair.
and Sunny, they seem to have been doing this for a while now. And so far, at least so far, except for Jacob, so that kind of might throw away my theory as a whole. So far, the POVs we've seen are the fish out of water characters, or the newbies, really. We have Brother Diaz, who has never done this, Alex, who is also thrown into this against her will.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Balthazar, he is the new magician. He's only been in jail or in the dungeon for a bit. There was a sorcerer before him who also tried to escape and who apparently did not get so lucky.
Did not. Yeah.
So
Didn't
far,
she get like crushed by a rock or just killed by a troll or something?
yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, she something giant, something colossal fell on her. And the way they just set that as a aside so indifferently. I'm excited for what shenanigans these characters get into because
Because for like reference, we know that this is a multi-book series that specifically isn't going to follow, a big trilogy with this huge overarching story. This is going to be 3 books with different sets of characters, some overlapping. Like I could see, I don't know if if Brother Diaz is going to survive this book, but if he does, then I'm sure like he might appear in the second book, things like that.
Yeah.
So I know there are characters that will carry over. But he did say, Joe Abercrombie did specifically say that he is looking at including like other devils in the other books to have different stories, different missions.
Right,
So each book
yeah.
should be, I believe, self-contained. There might be some other, larger plot, but I believe they're self-contained. So
Okay.
that would be interesting. So I could see like if the Baron, for example, doesn't get a lot of spotlight in this book, if perhaps he's reserving that for the next book, something like that.
That would be interesting. And it's a good opportunity to bring a lot more monsters into the mix because right now we have the classics. We have the werewolf, we have the vampire, we have the wizard or necromancer, I guess. We have the elf. Yeah. And it would fit the vibe, it's very like it's very clear that they're not in it for the long haul. This is a team. This is a disposable team, just like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Who knows who might live or die? I hope some of them survive, but we'll see.
I hope some of them die. Also, I am
exactly. Yeah,
I'm a little bit of a sadist. I enjoy death in books. This is going to be an ongoing thing. I thrive on the pain. I really love it if a book makes me cry, it is the best book ever. And if it makes me cry because somebody dies, I will love that book forever. I have cried at like 2 or 3 books total in my life, and I'm searching for that again. I want somebody to rip my heart out. It is the way I experience the most emotion in my life. This is football. This is it. So I really hope somebody dies. I need the pain.
So yeah, as you can see, we have a sadist here in the podcast.
It's for the devils. It's for the devils.
Yeah.
It works.
No, the fun thing about this podcast is we're really good friends. We have a lot of similar takes, and at the same time, there are some things where we're just complete opposites.
He's too whimsical. Nor you are too whimsical.
I'm too
Even
whimsical.
though your room looks really like dark and a lot moodier than mine. I have a wife. That's why mine looks like this. But
yeah, I have fantasy.
Your fantasy. Okay.
It's no.
Speaking on different takes, I think I have the big thing that we really need to talk about. We got to talk about the depiction of the Catholic Church, right? Like in pulling out from the book and pulling out from specifically our criticisms of characters and things, is how it depicts the Catholic Church. Is that okay? Like, is it too close? Is it not a big deal? Like, because he does stray in almost every other facet of the history, but the Catholic Church is definitely, it's called the Catholic Church, right? Like, I'm pretty sure it's directly called
in the book.
Yeah. Is it called the Catholic Church?
I'm not sure it's called the Catholic Church, actually. I didn't pick up on that. I mean, I thought it was a parody of the Catholic Church.
I mean, it definitely is. But
It totally is.
I mean, they have the Pope, the Holy. Anyways, I'm pretty sure I might be totally wrong, but it's very, very obviously the Catholic Church, and
it
it's
totally is.
so
Yeah.
very close. It's so very close with some very specific changes, and while I think the changes are super fascinating and interesting, and I am interested to know if it was one of those choices that he made just because it's different and interesting, or if there's an actual specific reason. If it was to try and stray away from, our history, or if there was like some sort of. Sorry, the dog is under. Oh my god! Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hey, we're back.
We're back. Okay.
Yeah.
Dog.
That's awesome.
Okay. But yeah, what do we think about the Catholic Church? Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? Do you think that it's something readers should be aware of? Is it something that you think would be a problem for anybody?
Well, as someone who grew up Catholic, it's not a big deal to me. I think the people that are going to be reading this book anyway, I don't think they'll give a second thought to the fact that they're making, fun of the Catholic Church. I can see how it might affect some readers, but for the most part, I think the people that are reading this book in the first place are just open-minded enough to either see this as a satire or see the commentary and take the commentary as, what it is, the author's point of view. So far, personally, I find it just really entertaining. It's a fun take on the church. It tackles a lot of the issues that some people might attribute to the church, and I laughed when I saw that the Pope was a child. I thought that was the funniest thing. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." So, yeah, I mean, I think as always, it depends on the person. But not to sound like a broken record, I think the people that are going to be reading this book.
That's fair. I mean, it's called The Devils. If somebody picks up a book called The Devils and then is shocked by it and being different than it's like a satanic cover.
If you saw that and you bought the book and then get offended, then
it's your own fault. It's your own fault. Basically, come on. You should have saw the signs. You should have read the blurb and been like, "Oh, the Pope has its devils." Like,
come on,
you should have known. You should have known. Now I'm with you. I think it absolutely is fascinating, and I think it does work to separate it from our own world in a fun way, honestly, because it makes it where while I'm reading it, I can go, "Oh, that's cool." Like it. While it's small, I think it's still fun. And it makes it clear that it is not the same. You cannot expect everything to be the same as our world. Exactly. For example, like the Pope being a child, well, there was a child Pope, I believe, in history. I believe this is correct. Child
that's
Pope.
even better.
Yeah, Pope Benedict the Ninth.
Oh, that makes sense because this Pope, the child's name is Benedicta.
Yes.
Yeah. No, this is the Catholic Church.
So
he's making commentary.
Dude, this is perfect. And wouldn't you believe the papacy began in 1045. So it is what we were saying.
No, this is
I mean, I feel like we're discovering this, and this is, I don't know if everybody will know this, but that is some good context here. There is some it feels like just another Earth. There are a lot of things that are on the same timeline, some different names for things. I mean, there's a really cool map in the front that gives all the different names, but you can clearly see it's Europe, the Mediterranean.
It's a parallel universe.
It's a parallel universe. It feels like a very clear parallel universe. Have you read anything like this before that's in a parallel Earth?
I'm trying to think. The closest I've gotten, I think, is just Murakami. But I think it's more of like in Murakami, it's more like the spiritual aspect is bleeding into the world. So no, I don't think I've ever read anything that's just a parallel universe. It's usually its own little world.
I do want to specify really quick that whenever I say it was a child pope, the pope was about 20 when first elected, so not a child.
We're not
But
children.
still, it is. Yeah, we're not children. We're above 20. We have drinks.
Yeah.
Make that very clear. We're above 21. To be very
21.
clear.
We don't
Yeah.
have to show our license or anything, do we?
No. This isn't required. This isn't required. You
That's
dude,
okay.
you bought that. You bought that liquor fair and square. All right. Don't let them take it away. So, anyways, yeah, technically the youngest pope in the history of the Catholic Church, but was about 20 years old. So not a literal child. But I think
Interesting.
I think Joe Abercrombie. I almost just called him by his first. I almost called him Joe. I think Abercrombie took this and just kind of made it a little bit more extreme. Said, "Oh, the youngest pope ever. Like, watch this." And the thing is, though, while it is a parody of the Catholic Church, there is some endearing like parts of it. I immediately thought about how Brother Diaz, whenever he was praying during the battle, was being very sincere. Like there is
Oh,
a
yeah.
sincerity to his faith. And a lot of these people really do believe what they're doing. It's not completely cynical. There is some like actual belief. And they do talk about martyrs. They do talk about a lot of like genuine belief as well. While most of it is satirical and most of it is poking fun, there are a few things that feel genuine, which I think it works well for the book. It makes it not too
Exactly.
not too humorous. It's a very funny book. It's not taking itself too seriously, but at least some of those points I think are healthy and good.
Yeah, no, there is some respect and reverence to the notion of faith in this book. There's a whole chapter that talks about holding on to something, and Brother Diaz, for him, that is his faith. Jacob of Thorn, he has his odes, and they do take them very seriously. And those chapters, they don't feel like the author is making fun of them.
Exactly.
Those chapters or those POVs are very serious. They take themselves seriously, and you do feel the gravity of the situation, which is nice. And I do think at the end of the day, this idea of Abercrombie to take the Catholic Church and kind of turn it upside down, I do think there will be like some commentary. It's not just pure satire, which is a good hallmark of fiction in the first place. But yeah,
That's
it's
great.
very enjoyable so far.
So beyond the Catholic Church, I think that's good. We really needed to touch on that. That seemed like the most glaring, like possible controversial thing about the book. There's also literally a pentagram on the cover, but beyond those things, is there anything specific that caught your eye that you want to talk about?
Oh boy. So we
Where
already
did you begin? Pulls out your tabbed book.
No, I'm just playing. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I have so many little tabs on my book. It's just things that I found amusing. Well, we already talked about the Pope being a child, which is really funny to me. All positions of power are seemingly belonging to women in here.
Yeah. But I thought it was cool. It was not cool. Cool's not the right word. While all positions of like extreme power belong to women, it's not that means that men cannot be in power, because you still see kings. You still see like these princes fighting for the throne. You still see Brother Diaz, who's getting a promotion and expecting it. You still see the Duke. You see, you see all these very, very successful men who are also in very like traditional roles. And so that's where I do wonder in this world, at least world building wise, how far does that extend? What does that mean? But that's just a little thing that I could see him expanding on, but also not. It could just leave it as is and say this is cool.
Some cool world building. Yeah,
just cool world building. It's kind of shallow, but that's sick. So I don't know. I was immediately thinking about the implications of that, though. Like, how does that change gender norms across the board? Like, that seems significant in the world.
That is a good point, because he's always, at least Brother Diaz is always praying to like Saint Beatrix. I believe that's her name.
Yeah.
And so for the first good chunk of the book, it feels as though like women control the world. Like in this world, women are the predominantly powerful gender, which could have been some commentary. But then again, we do see that they're kings. There's still like, so far there hasn't been like any like actual commentary on like gender roles. It just feels more
Yeah.
like more equal, or maybe they're trying to, or maybe Abercrombie's trying to spin this idea of like maybe the women are more connected to the ways of divinity. That might be
Yeah.
something that we see. Then again,
In general, though, I mean, there is this kind of fascinating thing where, I mean, because he made this choice, he's able to dodge a lot of the questionable parts of the Middle Ages that
right,
make modern audiences very uncomfortable. Whereas George R. R. Martin has no problem, for the Game of Thrones, for example. And
right,
for those of you who don't know, Joe Abercrombie kind of followed after George in the grimdark space and in this like really gritty fantasy that's very grounded and realistic and bloody, and you're in these characters' minds and it's following them and everybody can die. That sort of book, Joe Abercrombie took that style and was the kind of next author that was really successful with this right after the Game of Thrones released. So with that, keeping that in mind, George R. R. Martin has no problem having gender roles be a significant part of his books and having a lot of his women like fight against their gender roles. Whereas here, this seems like a very easy solution to just
right, yeah,
ignore it entirely, to just say like, everybody's equal here. Which on the bright side, it allows for a really fascinating story to take place. That, I mean, it's fantasy for a reason. We're able to see
yeah.
things that were able to happen in history because this isn't real life. This is a fantasy book. It's supposed to be escapist, for better or for worse. We're escaping into a dastardly world, but it's not exactly better, but it's still escapism. So that could also be the reasoning.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Sometimes that just isn't the story he wants to tell. Sometimes he just, maybe Abercrombie just really wants to tell Suicide Squad under the Catholic Church, So either way, if it becomes a big part of the story, yay, I'm all in for that. If it's
Yeah.
not, I'm also perfectly fine with it. I'm enjoying the cast and their shenanigans so far. So either way, it doesn't feel like it will, but it
Yeah.
could.
It very well could.
We have a long way to go.
A long way to go. And honestly, like this book, at least how it starts, it doesn't give the impression that it's going to be transformative. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in the way like this feels like a fun book. It feels like a book that you pick up to enjoy reading. Kind of like the actual Suicide Squad. It's something you
Exactly.
watch. You're like, this was a really fun time. In every step of the way, I was very engaged and I was having a fun time. All the characters are fun, quirky, and interesting. But I imagine, like, I don't think this book's going to change my life. I don't think I'm going to end this in tears. I doubt that, and which isn't bad. It's just the type of book, and for those crazy people who actually haven't read the book yet and are listening without reading.
What are you
Just
doing?
keep that in mind.
Go.
First of all, what are you doing? Go get the book. Don't do this. Don't stop this right now. Go read this and then
Read
part
the
2
book.
and then listen to the next one. But also, I think that's important to keep in mind is that this book is for entertainment's sake. And that's all right. It's super enjoyable.
Exactly. So far, it feels like we're just reading a movie, a good movie, a fun movie.
Yes.
And
And I think this
sometimes
goes
that's all you
into
need.
his prose. We should talk about his prose because it's
Oh.
really good.
So playful. It's so playful. Oh my god. Yeah, it's so
his
whimsical.
prose is so it's some of my favorite prose out of any fantasy author. Like I love Abercrombie, the way he writes at least. It's very engaging, very playful, very, very, very close to the characters. And I might miss this. I don't believe there's a lot of like italicized internal monologue. It's mostly just built into the narration, right? Like, you just have
Exactly,
characters talking. And so in between the pieces of dialogue, we have the main character, the character's thoughts, the perspective character's thoughts. And everybody has their own things. Everybody's very distinct. And I think he does that very well, especially in these foundational chapters. It comes across even more so because we're meeting these characters for the first time. Um, I don't know. The prose alone would be enough for me to read it, honestly, even if the plot sucked. Like the way he writes is just for me quite intoxicating. So I feel like it that in itself is fun.
It's such a refreshing narrator. It just makes for a good time. There were so many times where I would just reread the sentence just to get that like serotonin hit again because it was so funny, so exciting.
The way he
And
described Jacob of Thorn, he used whenever Brother Diaz first met Jacob of Thorn, the simile he used was insane. I don't know why it stuck with me so much. It was basically along the lines of, and it might not be word for word, but he said he looked like he had been rolling down a mountainside for 50 years, and that mountainside was covered with swords. And I was like, that's such a like vivid description of I know exactly what this guy looks like. And I mean, as we later learned, yes, I mean, he's been stabbed so many times, so that's not
so many
exactly
times.
a crazy description. But it just is such a fun way to describe somebody that it's just fun. It's just a fun way to describe somebody.
Yeah, it has the right amount of playfulness that makes the writing style entertaining itself, but it doesn't detract from the story, because there's some books where like the author will try to be as flashy as possible using like word structure words, fancy words, funny words, strange sentence structures to like show off and make it flashy that it ultimately takes away from the story. No, Abercrombie does it in a way that it enhances the story. It sort of riffs on what the characters feel and they think. It emphasizes the way they see each other and the world around them. And there were so many times I was reading this book and I was just laughing out loud, which again, most of it was the chapter where we meet the Pope, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. But it's just so fun. The prose is so exciting. It's refreshing, and it's like you said, the prose alone makes this honestly worth a read.
Before we wrap up, I do want to go into predictions. We talked a little bit about it. But the Duke's injury seems so it's foreshadowing. It has to be. Like there has to be something going on here. And obviously also with the animal people. Something has to be going on there. There's going to be something more with that. So what do you think? What do you think the Duke's injury is setting up? What do you think is going on? Do you have any predictions of what we're going to see in part 2 or what we're going to see just in general with the book? Since we just started it, it's fresh. We have a long way to go. This is the most raw time to make predictions. Now, I think we both kind of know the type of story that this is going to tell, like the general arc. Because this, again, Suicide Squad. Like it feels that's what's going to happen. I would be very shocked if there's
Right.
a major twist based off of what the book is. But specifics. What do we think specifically is going to happen?
Right. Duke Michael is too good to be true. He just screams like, "I'm going to betray you." Like, no, I'm injured. I can't go along with you. Oh, wait, I'll be in Troy. I'll be waiting for you.
Yeah.
Like he definitely feels like he is.
He's going to try and take the throne, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
come on.
He has
He's
to have
totally
an
going to try
opinion.
and take the throne.
Everybody else is very like blunt about their motives. Even Cardinal Ziska feels very like, again, like I'm doing this. It's the wrong way to go about it, but sometimes the means justify or the ends justify the means, right?
Yeah.
Duke Michael just feels like, oh, Alex, I've missed you. I'm so happy I found you. We're gonna make everything right. Like
He's too altruistic. Yeah,
exactly,
it's not
he's
real.
too altruistic. I was like,
Yeah, no, I
those are
agree. I think
predictions.
you're right. The Duke is definitely going to betray them, and I think that he's going to try. He's been trying to pull it off as like, I found the rightful heir to the throne, but when she tragically dies, oh no, I'm there to sweep
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
and pick up the reins. I think that's probably what we're going for here. I would be shocked if it's not. Do you think Baptiste is actually like I? I don't know. I think it's just because I don't know her very well, and so I immediately am like, she's gonna betray him. Like, she's evil. I don't know. She just feels wrong, but
It,
maybe we just don't know her well. So
I, I don't know. I find her charming. Like she's really fun to me.
yeah,
Um, I hope she doesn't betray them because I do enjoy her. She's very
yeah,
charismatic. She's also very shallow for sure. Like we haven't gotten to know her yet, which might also be part of the idea of like she is putting on this mask as well as the Baron is a vampire. He seems very like uh, kind of nonchalant. I don't want to say that word, but
Mhm.
reserved, I guess. I don't think Baptist will betray them. I don't know. I she
I
might.
hope not.
I don't.
Just
I don't think
pirate,
so.
just pirate feels. One of the devils has to betray them, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
surely one of them, and that's so far. Like, I don't think anybody else. Balthasar seems like too obviously, because he's super stuck up. Like,
Because he wants to, but he can't.
yeah, because he can't, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Jacob of Thorn surely won't, but I mean that could be fun. If I don't think he would though. He's too into his oaths.
His
Viga's
own.
too busy figure. Oh, we should talk about
We should
the
talk about
Viga,
the big wolf in the
Viga
room.
Wolf, Viga Wolf. Yeah,
Oh, that chapter was
the
amazing.
Swedish werewolf. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, her chapter was crazy. That was
Which,
so fascinating to see how, like, the perspective of a werewolf eating people. Like, it was
but I'm
very
glad you
visceral.
brought up the nationality because it's they reference that it's like the Nordic one,
Yeah.
not the other one. Like it's not your traditional werewolf, like the one that at least Americans and British
Hmm.
populations are more accustomed to.
Twilight
No, this is
Watchers. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah. This is more based off of the like Nordic folklore, which is
Do
exciting
you
because
know?
it
Do you know
hasn't.
any of the Nordic folklore?
No, 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 no. I
I don't
don't.
either. Okay, I was just checking. I didn't know if you were about to go off on Swedish werewolves. I was like, I don't know anything about
This
Swedish
is my
werewolves.
thing. You've known me for
I
like
knew
4 years, and I've never once talked about my passion.
Swedish werewolves.
Swedish werewolves. No, but I feel like it has at least world building implications that there are different like types of werewolves and like maybe different monsters based on different folklores. And so maybe Abercrombie's taking like the
Yeah.
folklore take on the monster. And
Yeah.
it's refreshing because we have these assumptions already, like, oh, vampires are vulnerable to daylight, which not the case in this book.
No, he loves the daylight. He was basking in the sun.
It was basking in it, which is awesome. I love that also. Um, but anyway, I thought that was cool. There might be some cool world building things there.
And we might run into some other monsters, is what that might suggest. I
Exactly. Yeah.
don't know yet if it's going to be like just an adventure to get to Troy, or it's going to be the entire way. They're going to just keep running into. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be boring. I'm sure he's going to find a way to make it fun.
Yeah, there's
So
gonna be
they
some
might run
exciting things.
into like some other folklore type of creatures. This is basically Shrek. It's
It's
really
just
similar to Shrek. All the folklore, all the fairy tale people, and they're leaving the swamp, baby. They're leaving the swamp, and who knows what's out there? Who knows what's out there?
they even used an onion to describe
That's
Alex.
what I'm saying. Alex,
It's
who is
Shrek. It's
Shrek in this
Shrek.
situation, Alex is Shrek. She has
Oh,
onions. She is an onion, and so they're leaving the swamp. And who knows what's out there? It could be anything. Could be the non-Nordic werewolves.
yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. Anything else? Any other predictions?
Predictions. Honestly, I'm just kind of hoping to see where this goes. I'm going with the flow. Try
Yeah.
not to have any expectations. The biggest one was, is Duke Michael going to betray them? Is Alex really the princess, or is she very clearly a pawn? Either way, I think she's a pawn. But
Yeah. And
is
will
she,
Brother Diaz's monologue at the end of the book actually be as epic as it should be? Because we all know it's going to happen. He's
Oh
going to
yeah,
have a
yeah,
good team tying monologue where he steps it up and just is the best. And I need that to be good. I need that to be moving. We'll see where it goes. All right. Well, if you like this and you want to hear more, please like and subscribe. If you have any hot takes of your own, leave a comment or send us an email at readdrinkramble@gmail.com. So next week, or I guess 2 weeks from now, every other Wednesday is what we're going for. So
every other
the
Wednesday.
2 Wednesdays from now, get part 2 read. Read part 2.
Your
Get it read.
homework is to get this book.
Get the book. First of all, if you haven't
Buy the
read,
book.
get the book, buy the book, or get on Audible, listen to the book, maybe. It's also a great choice. But go to the second part. Read the second part. Read all of it. And then our next episode will cover that. Make yourself a drink next time. Unless you're driving, don't drink and drive. If you're listening to
Do
this
not drink and drive.
Yeah, don't
Do
drink
not
and drive.
drink and
PSA, nobody drink and drive unless it's water.
Oh.
Did you finish your drink? Did you finish your Negroni?
No, I haven't. I've been taking like small sips.
I finished
in
my drink.
Oh,
I finished
wow.
my entire drink.
What a man.
The goblet is finished. Because here at Novels and Nightcaps, we finish our drinks. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.